be on the lookout for that. But as you see, I just passed out some straps. If you're at home, you do not need a strap, but if you do have a belt, you can use that. That helps. And I just turned it on some Mars. You can use anything you'd like, or you can just use your hands. Sometimes the best tools are what are already attached to you. So we are going to start on our backs this evening. I love my yoga people. And we're going to start on our backs tonight. Okay, so a little bit different. Sometimes if you're new in our class, we usually or have been starting on our bottoms in a seated position, but on my way in, I was just kind of thinking about, it's been hot, and sometimes with that comes, everyone feeling a little bit more sluggy or the energy kind of being a little bit low. And so I figured that we would switch things up a bit this evening and start on our backs. So to start off class, I usually like to create a nice little presence here. So feel free to close your eyes or keep your gaze soft. I will have my eyes open at all times. So don't fret. I'm not always, keeping my eye out, and I'm not staring at anybody either. I'm just kind of usually looking around the room, or in this case, at the ceiling and whatnot. But you are in a safe space, whether you're at home or if you're in the studio, and just want you to feel comfortable right now so you can have your body in any shape that you feel comfortable right now, whether you have your legs extended down the mat, or if you have the soles of the feet on the ground, the knees up. I like to come in this knocked knee pose, bringing both knees together. That kind of feels good on my hips, and I like that pose. But whatever works for you, yogi's choice. So as we start in our first pose, believe it or not, this is definitely a yoga pose as we're starting off. And I just asked for you to come onto your mat. Maybe you are there physically, but it takes sometimes a while to get there mentally. So whether you're still thinking about, either the traffic that you're just in, or work, or a class, or something else, running errands, all that stuff can be overstimulating, sometimes can be chaotic, and you might have some leftover feelings or thoughts and ideas from what happened in the day. So go ahead and reel yourself back in here on the present moment. You can start to bring that awareness, bring that sense of mindfulness to the body. You can start by noticing the senses around you, whether it's the feeling of the air on your skin, little gentle AC going, the sound of my voice, other sounds in the building as people come in and out. Maybe you're hearing other sounds outside. Just being in tune to your surroundings. From there, we can deepen the breath, starting to take a deep cleansing breath, sipping the air through the nose, and exhale that warm, stale air away from the body. Feel free to release any yawns or any other audible sounds, just letting your body tell you what it needs. As you continue to deepen the breath in and out, maybe you start to notice how the breath is flowing in the body. I like to have a hand over my tummy, just gently feeling the rise and the fall of the abdomen with the breath. With each exhale, seeing if you can soften the muscles a little bit more, maybe letting the shoulders come away from the ears as we start to tense up throughout the day. I know a lot of people tend to carry a lot of tension and stress in their shoulders. With each inhale, sipping the air through the nose, and exhale that warm, stale air away from the body. As we start to turn inward with the breath, relaxing the nervous system a little bit more. Maybe you start to notice some feelings or some sensations inside the body. So give yourself a head to toe body scan, just seeing how you're feeling this evening, checking in with yourself mentally and physically. How are your energy levels? Whether you're in need of more restful, more slow paced yoga, or if you're in the need of moving and stretching. And without judgment, letting yourself be how it is right now. Without pushing yourself or wishing yourself a certain way, just being right here, right now is perfect enough. I'll also hold space if you'd like to set an intention for today's class, or if you have a dedication or a mantra, a couple set of words that you'd like to repeat in your head, something to bring yourself back to the present if you feel yourself becoming a little distracted, challenged, maybe even bored. You can reel yourself back in to get the most of your practice. And since we're here today, just remember that half of the battle is showing up for yourself, and you came. The rest is just listening to your body and breathing. We'll take a couple more breaths here in our centering before slowly starting to move. As we start to come into some warming up poses, you can continue to keep your eyes closed or soft, whatever is comfortable for you this evening. If your legs are not already extended down the mat, go ahead and lengthen them all the way down. So we're just laying here on the floor. We'll start to press the heels into the floor so that the toes are pointing up, giving a little flex to the feet. Taking a moment here, again, whether your eyes are closed, arms next to you on either side. You may feel this position as a standing up position. We're just laying here. So noticing how the floor, the mat is supporting you, the natural curvature of the body. Perhaps that lower back, you're feeling it a little slightly lifted where that tailbone is. Just seeing how this feels here. On the next inhale, we'll sweep our arms up overhead like you're creating a little snow angel. And we'll take our arms up overhead with a bind, bringing the right set of fingers wrapped around the left wrist. So reaching up overhead toward the mirror, up overhead, so the hands can be on the ground overhead. We'll take some deep breaths here, right off the bat, opening up your chest, opening up your rib cage. 3 deep breaths here. On the next inhale, we'll continue to reach up, and on the exhale, we'll take a little side bend over to the right. So if you're new or at home or you're not sure your left and right, you may realize that I am pointing out different landmarks in the room. So the right will be over toward the door in the studio, and the left will be over toward the windows. So we're just getting a little side bend, almost like you're in like a little cheese curl shape with your upper body. Breathing into that left side. 3 more breaths. 2. Last one. And exhale, we'll come back through center and we'll switch out the hands. So now we'll bring the left fingers wrapping around the right wrist. Taking a deep breath up and exhale over to the left, over toward the windows. Breathing into that right side body. That open space that you created, send the breath there. So as we're going throughout class, you may hear me say, breathe into or create space, and that could just doesn't necessarily obviously mean doesn't necessarily mean that you have to send the breath there. What I'm trying to gauge is your awareness to that spot. 2 more breaths. Last one. Exhale, come back through center, and you can bring your hands down next to you. Okay, so keeping the right leg pressing into the floor, we'll lift the left knee, bringing it into the chest. So if you'd like, you can start to hug that knee into the chest, maybe interlacing your fingers over the shin. And we'll start with a little cradle back and forth, opening up the hip socket. So the femur bone, which is where your thigh is, attached to the hip socket. We're gently coming back and forth, just noticing how this feels in the body. Maybe you got some creaks and cracks going on. Sometimes I get a little popping sensation. As long as you're not in any pain, see if you can breathe through the movement. Coming back and forth, maybe start to match the movement with the breath. We'll take a couple more rounds. And on your next breath, we'll come back through center. All right, so keeping that knee up, we'll place the left hand gently over the left hand over the left knee. And we'll start to create these hip circles. So keeping with the same hip opening, we're gently going in one direction first. So you can either go counterclockwise or clockwise first. We'll take both directions, yogi's choice, which way to start. So I don't know about you guys, but I definitely don't get this motion in my everyday activities. And so it's really good. We tend to carry a lot of emotions and tension in the hips. And that's why they might feel creaky or cracky too, if you're not getting that motion in them. So this is a great opening up. Go ahead and switch directions if you've had it already, especially before other hip openers that we might do later. 2 more circles. Last one. And coming back through center. Hopefully you didn't place your strap too far away. And again, you do not need the strap to do what we're doing. If you do have the strap, we'll start to lengthen it out and place it on the ball of that left foot. And if you don't have the strap, you can pretend that strap's not here and you can interlace your fingers behind that left thigh. So we'll place both ends of the strap handles, if you do have a strap or a belt, in the left hand. Keeping a bend in that knee. If you have tight hamstrings, you do not have to lock out that knee. We'll start to bring a little point and flex into the foot. And there is a reason why we don't have both ends of the strap on either hand. Once you have, if you do have a strap on either hand, you'll start to feel that leg pulling inward. So right now, we just want to keep that leg over that hip. So we can start by pointing and flexing the foot. You might start to feel a really good hamstring stretch, hammy stretch. And on the next inhale, we'll cross over midline, over to the right, where our door is. Crossing over, you might start to feel a gentle stretch, or maybe it's a deep stretch on that left side where the IT band is. Breathing for 2 more. Excellent job. Last one. Exhale, coming back through center. And now we'll take it out toward the windows. So now we're working with our abductor and adductor muscles, which help with our hip motion. 2 more breaths. Last one. And exhale, go ahead and release the strap or release the bind if you had your fingers behind that left leg. You can slowly start to lower that leg down, maybe giving your toes a little windshield wiper back and forth. So here, maybe you start to check in with that first leg compared to that other side. Just seeing if you feel a difference. Maybe it's a little tingly from being elevated. Maybe it's feeling warm from warming the muscles a bit. Just being aware. So we're going to take that same little routine over to the other side. So we'll start by flexing that left foot, keeping it engaged, pressing into the floor, and bending that right knee, bringing it into the chest. And we'll start by doing a little cradle the baby back and forth. As we come through this side, just seeing again if the side has any differences. We tend to not be equal as we're going through our left and our rights. If you feel stronger or you feel more dominant on one side, all those things are good to be aware of. Bringing that knee back through center, we'll take our hip circle. So we'll start by bringing that right palm on that right knee. We're coming around one direction first. And the breath flowing for 2 more. And we'll take it to the other direction. So use choice, whether that was clockwise or counterclockwise. 2 more rounds. And we'll come back through center. Hopefully you didn't place your strap too far away. We'll take that same hamstring stretch over to the side. So again, strap on that right side. If you're taking the strap or the belt, both ends of the strap in that right hand. Or if you're taking a bind with your hands, you can interlace your fingers behind that thigh or behind that thigh. Okay, so to warm up, we'll take a little point and flex. Warming up. On the next inhale, we'll cross over midline, over to the windows. stretch on that that outer right leg. 2 more breaths. Last one. Exhale, come back through center and out to door. Great. Maybe with each breath, you're taking the weight out of the strap a little bit more, using your core and your leg muscles for 2 more breaths. You got this. Last one. Exhale, come back through center. Great job, everyone. You can slowly release the strap and we'll place both soles of the feet on the ground, giving the knees a little windshield wiper back and forth. Check in with the body. Slowly start to roll over onto one side. You can press yourself up and we'll just flip over onto our hands and knees into a tabletop position. You're stuck, Miriam. Okay. So we're on your hands and knees here, and we just want to take a quick check-in with ourselves here. Here in studio, we have this lovely padded mat underneath us, which is really great. But I know that being on your knees like this, it can definitely be a little bit painful. So feel free to place a blanket underneath your knees or a towel, or you can also double up on your mats too. So we're here in our tabletop position. We'll start to spread out our fingers to get a good stance, get a good grip into the mat. Spreading all the fingers, pressing into the finger pads and the upper knuckles, creating a little suction between the palm and the mat here. We also want to make sure that our shoulders are in line with our wrists, right over, and our hips are over the knees. And lastly, we want to check in with our core as well. So although the goal is not to build muscle or to have like a six-pack or anything, but we definitely want to use our core, what we have, to help protect our back, our spine. So starting to cinch everything up, firing up the core. We'll start with our cat-cow poses to fluctuate the spine. So on the inhale, draw the shoulders back as you tilt your pelvis, bringing your gaze forward or up. And on the exhale, rounding the spine as you lower the pelvis, bringing chin to the chest, almost like you're pressing the mat away. So we'll come back and forth into the spinal fluctuation. You can start to match the movement with the breath. And once you get your groove on, you might notice the different parts in the spine. And now you can see if you can manipulate the spine to move one vertebra at a time, sending the breath there, creating the space in the back rather than thinking of it as one piece. We'll all be going different paces, just like a bunch of waves in the ocean, focusing on your own breath. Let's do a couple more rounds here. Finishing up on the last round, the breath, and we'll meet right back in our tabletop position. Great job, everyone. Okay. From here, we'll take a couple shoulder stretches. We'll start by shifting our weight over to the left to free up our right hand. On the inhale, we'll reach up our right hand all the way up to the sky. And on the exhale, sweeping that hand underneath that left, gently bringing your left side of the head down. And it doesn't have to touch the ground. If you'd like like to deepen your pose, you can make use of what's around you, perhaps a block underneath your head, or you can make a little pillow with your left fist. And to keep this pose active, really stretching the back of the shoulder, we'll start to press into the back of that right arm into the floor. This is called an isometric movement. So we're not moving anything, but we're still getting a good stretch. We're still building strength by contracting the muscles around the bone. 2 more breaths here. Last one. And through the exhale, we'll press back into the left hand, reaching our right arm to the side one more time, and then sending it back home. So we'll take that same thing to the other side. Shifting over to the right, inhale, left arm up to the side, deep breath in. Exhale, sweeping underneath that the right hand. Pressing into the back of that left arm. Good. One more breath here. And through the exhale, we'll lift ourselves back up, pressing into the right. Reaching up one more time, and then sending it back home. Okay, so from here, we'll come into a child pose. We'll widen the knees about max distance apart. We'll all have different versions. Maybe you like to have a narrower child pose, which is perfectly fine. We'll start to send the hips back towards the heels as you reach your arms forward. Maybe your forehead comes to the mat. Again, if it doesn't, that's okay. You can either hover your head, or again, if you'd like to use a block, you can place a block, or if you're at home and don't have a block, you can place something else underneath your head for that support. So here in our child's pose, I'm just gonna lift my head up so that I can project my voice. But in our child's pose in yoga, this is considered a resting pose. So you can come back here at any point in time. No judgment, no need for me to send you here. And again, listening to your body. This is also a great stretch. We're getting a hip opener, shoulder opener, a back stretch, so many different things that are really great in this pose. So feel free again to come back here anytime. I cannot stress that enough. So here, we'll take a couple more breaths in our child's pose. Feeling that open space in the back. With each inhale, continuing to reach your arms forward. And with the exhale, maybe you're lowering the hips back to the heels just a little bit more, even if it's just using your mind's eye. And through that last breath, we'll start to bring ourselves back up. You can walk the hands back, lifting the hips. And from here, so we've been kind of working on a couple different things here. So yogi's choice, you can either come into puppy pose, which is very similar to the child pose. Puppy pose, we're walking our hands forward, but keeping so that the wrists, the forearms are on the ground, but keeping the hips up, just like a puppy that's trying to stretch. You can use this. Or if you'd like to take it a step further, you can come into downward facing dog. So from tabletop, you can lift the hips, lifting the knees, sending the hips up and back into a V shape of the body. So yogi's choice, whatever works for you. I love everyone has their different variations, what your body is calling for tonight. Not what it wishes it was doing, not what it did yesterday or this morning, what it wants right now. So we'll take a couple more breaths here. Maybe if you're in downward facing, you're starting to pedal out your dog a little bit more. We already got a good hamstring stretch earlier in practice. We'll take 2 more breaths. Last one. And then if you're in downward facing, we'll start to bring the feet to the hands. If you're in puppy pose, you can walk the hands back and you can just step up to the top of the mat. And we'll land in a forward fold. So right at the top of the mat here, and we'll land with our upper body nice and heavy over the legs. Maybe you start to press on the tops of the toes and get a good alignment, get a good grip with your feet, just like what we did with our hands. I like to spread out each individual toe. This might help if you've been in closed-toed shoes all day, just giving a little moment of appreciation and gratitude to our feet. Letting them feel the surface beneath them, the mat, the ground. And on the next inhale, we'll sweep up to a halfway lift. Exhale, coming back down, forward folds. Excellent job. Inhale, back up one more time, halfway lift. Exhale, back down. Pressing into the soles of the feet. On the next inhale, we'll bring ourselves all the way up, arms up overhead. And then releasing, coming back down here in our first standing pose. In our mountain pose, I say this every class. It's just a good check-in with yourself. In our mountain pose, it's a lot of work to be here. My quick little tangent is, I know normally, especially these days, we tend to come into this cashew spine that we're curling inward, this internal rotation. So right off the bat, we can start by externally rotating the shoulders, lowering them away from the ears. Excellent job. I know a lot of the time, again, we hold stress for up here, bringing them down. So we also want to make sure that our weight is evenly distributed in the feet. I'm always switching off my weight from one foot to another, and I know that's not healthy for my hips, and I have to correct myself all the time. So letting yourself stand tall. I'm all mixed up with my words today. And you can imagine, if you're a visual person, like a fishing lure that's gently pulling the top of your head up. So with each inhale, you're continuing to grow like a little bit taller. With each exhale, you're continuing to press and ground yourself into the floor. So we'll take a couple more moments here. Feel free to close your eyes to get that blueprint. So the next time you're standing, having a conversation, whether it's at a party or you're in line at the grocery store, you can auto-correct yourself. Your mind will come here, and I know that I still have to do it all the time. Take 2 more breaths here. Last one. On the next inhale, we'll bring our arms up all the way overhead. On the exhale, keeping that left foot forward, we'll step back with the right foot, coming into a warrior one. So that back foot is at a 45-degree angle. The front foot has a bend in the knee. We're keeping that knee over the ankle, and we're keeping our hips front. Excellent. Everyone looks really good. Again, shoulders away from the ears. We'll take 2 more breaths here in our warrior one. Last one. Through the exhale, we'll swivel out to the right into our warrior two, with a quick transition of that back foot parallel to the edge of the mat. I like to take a wider stance with my warrior two. It's about your preference. Just like we all have different strides when we walk, everyone's gonna have a different stride in their warrior poses. So we're keeping a bend in that front left knee still. Hands out to a T, bringing the gaze in front of that left hand. Excellent. Beautiful warriors. On the next inhale, we'll flip that front palm. On the exhale, reaching up and back to our reverse warrior. Reaching down with that right arm as the left hand comes up overhead. Great. 2 more breaths here, you guys. Last one. Exhale, we'll come back through warrior 2. Okay. Not to get too funky on you, but we'll start to straighten out that front leg. So we have a bend, now we're straightening out that front leg. We'll send the hips back as our upper body comes forward into a triangle pose. This is a time if you'd like to make use of a block, putting it on the inner arch of that left foot, reaching down as your right arm reaches up in a triangle pose. Great. 2 more breaths here. Last one. Exhale. We'll cartwheel the hands down on either side of that front foot. And we'll take a step forward right into forward fold. But now we'll take a ragdoll pose. So letting the upper body really be heavy over the legs. Maybe you take a bind, opposite elbows, or you can come into gorilla pose by bringing the soles of the feet onto the hands. That's another little variation too. Again, if you're a visual person, you can imagine a waterfall that's coming over your back, trickling off your head. So creating that slope with the back is what we're getting at. Excellent, excellent. Beautiful variations, everyone. Couple more breaths here. One more. And exhale, go ahead and release the bind, whatever one you took. You took one. On the next inhale, we'll sweep up to a halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, root to rise all the way up, arms overhead. And exhale, release mountain pose. Excellent. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, right foot forward, left foot back, warrior 1 on this side. Great. Bend in that front right knee, adjusting as needed. Shoulders down. Great. 2 more breaths. Last one. Exhale, swiveling out to the left. Transitioning just that back foot. So it goes from 45-degree parallel to the edge of the mat. Bend in that front right knee. Gaze over that front right hand. Warrior 2. Great. Love it. Next breath. Flip that front palm. Exhale up and back. Reaching down with that left hand as that right arm reaches up overhead. Reverse warrior. Breathing into that right side body. 2 more breaths. Last one here. Exhale, coming back through warrior 2. Okay, we'll take our triangle pose. So remember, straightening out that front leg, upper body, hips come back, upper body comes forward. Again, opportunity to have that block on the inner arch of that right foot. It's there if you need it. Reaching up with that left hand, triangle pose. Awesome. Great, everyone. 2 more breaths. Last one. Exhale, cartwheeling the hands down. We'll take a step forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, back down. Inhale, root to rise all the way up. Exhale, back down. Okay. So before we take a couple of standing poses, we'll start to work our shoulders a little bit. So I know when we sit on the ground, we kind of do some shoulder warming up, but we'll start with our shoulder rolls just to get them nice and loosey-goosey. So on the inhale, the opposite of what I've been telling you this whole class, hiking the shoulders up. And through the exhale, we'll bring the shoulders together like you're hugging a line between your shoulders. Like if I place a line between your shoulder blades, you're trying to squeeze it there to keep it there. And then we'll bring them down. So inhale up, exhale back and down. Okay, now we'll continue with the breath. Seeing how this feels in the body, opening up the chest. More rounds here in this direction. Okay, and now we'll take it to the other side, the other direction. So inhale, shoulders come up, exhale, rounding the spine down. So really the total opposite what I've been telling you this whole class, but we're really only doing it to get that motion in the rotator cuff here. More rounds. And we'll meet right back with our shoulders loosey-goosey away from our ears. Okay, with that being said, we'll take a couple of balancing poses right at the top of the mat, but I'm standing this way. So we have a couple of options. So just for the sake of anyone new, I'll kind of come into one that we've been working on. If you'd like to try Eagle that we did last class, you're more than welcome to try that. But feel free to have your prop near you, a block, or if you're at home, you can use a book or a paper towel roll, whatever works for you. And we'll start by shifting the weight over to the right to lift up that left leg. So really the key to balance here is thinking about your core, your midsection. So that firing up that we did earlier in class, and feel free to flip to the mirror, that's helpful too. So maybe you find something in front of you that's not moving and you start to lift yourself up. But remember, we have our different variations of tree. So maybe your tree is just down here with the toes on the ground and the heel up. Maybe your tree comes to your shin. Maybe it comes to the block. All really good stuff for that balancing. If you'd like to take full tree, you can place that sole of the foot on the thigh. And I know that we have the squishy mat underneath, which for all of the loving that it does, helping protect our knees, I know it can make it a little bit more difficult with the balance. So do what your body is asking of you today. And remember, we have our different variations. We'll take 2 more breaths. Last one. And exhale, release. Good catch. I love the mat underneath, but it is very difficult with the standing poses. But it's good, it makes you work harder. Okay, so we'll take it to the other side, our tree pose or your eagle pose, whatever you'd like to work on and practice today. So shifting over to the left, we'll start to free up that right leg. So whether you have it down here, maybe this time you play around with the hands. Sometimes having my hands on my hips, just like that sensation of grounding, it kind of helps too. Excellent job, everyone. Beautiful. Everyone looks really good. Hold it for 2 more breaths. If you come out of it, no problem. Last one. exhale, go ahead and release, shake it up. Remember, we're practicing, don't take it seriously, no judgment here. Okay, we'll come right into our helicopter. Carol's got the right idea. I love this. Really a chance to be playful with the body, like a little kid, just whipping those arms around to have the space, getting those spinal twists in. Start to slow it down just a little bit, little by little, just like you're slowly turning a knob, so not automatically stopping. And then maybe you're just getting a little sway back and forth, maybe it's an arm crossing over until you're right back still. Excellent. Okay, I'm gonna come right back up here at the top of the mat. On your next inhale, we'll reach up overhead. On the exhale, we'll swan dive forward, bending the knees deeply as we plant our hands on the ground, and we're just going to deconstruct ourselves. So we'll come back into our tabletop, and then we'll swivel out onto our bottoms with our legs coming forward, 10 our steps. So we have yet to do any seating poses this evening, so we're going to take a couple twists here, and again, you can adjust as needed. You don't have to have your legs stick straight. If you have tight hamstrings, you can keep a little bend in the knees. This will help ease up on them a little bit. So we'll start to, you can either take that right foot and place it next to that left thigh, or you can cross it over, yogi's choice. We'll bring our right hand back for support as you hug that knee with your left arm, twisting over to the right, over toward the door. So we're here in our twist, pretty much our first twist of the night. With each inhale, we'll continue to elongate the spine, and on the exhale, twisting a little bit more over to the right, even if it's just tiny, tiny bit. Two more breaths. Last one. Exhale, unwinding the spine. We can untangle the legs, and we'll take it to the other side. So left, either next to or crossing over that right leg, and we'll take our twist over to the left. So that left hand back for support, bringing that twist to the spine. With each inhale, continuing to elongate that spine. Again, maybe you imagine that fishing string that's attached to the top of your head. And on the exhale, twisting over to the left. Two more breaths. Last one. Exhale, unwinding the spine. We'll untangle the legs, and we'll take one more forward fold over our legs, but this time seated. So inhale, arms up to get that length, and exhale, hinging with the hips over the legs. Again, getting a good hamstring stretch. Remember, our goal here doesn't have to be to touch the toes. Maybe today you're touching the thighs or the knees, maybe it's the ankles, the shins, whatever your body is asking for tonight. One more breath. Last one here. Exhale. You can bring yourself back up, and we'll take it right onto our backs, how we started, for a couple of cooling down closing poses. So if you'd like one extra little challenge, you can start to lower yourself down little by little, nice and slowly. Excellent job. But of course, if you just feel like laying down, I got you, and no need to do something that you don't want to do or that you're not up for. So we'll land with the soles of the feet on the ground, the knees up. And we'll start by bringing your right ankle over the left knee, coming into a figure four pose. So we did a lot with our hips this evening, and this is another hip opener in our figure four. So we have two variations of this pose. You can either stay where you are, or if you'd like a deeper stretch, you can float that left leg, threading the needle, interlacing the fingers behind that left eye. So both legs are floating, and have this other variation. Wherever your pose that you land in, how it is this evening, breathing into the hips, sending the breath there. Deep inhales and complete exhales. Two more full breaths. And through that exhalation, if you took a bind, you can go ahead and release, but we'll keep that ankle crossed over. So now we'll start to tilt over to the left so that right sole of the foot touches down to the left side. So this is a variation of another twist. If you have something else that works for you tonight, by all means go for that. You can also just bring both knees over to the left side, stacking over. So another variation of a twist, which are great any time of the day, but particularly really beneficial toward the end of the day. They help with digestion. And again, towards the end of the day after eating, whatnot, it helps move lymphatic fluid to the larger organs of the body to help naturally detox the body. So our bodies are amazing on what they can do on their own, just from a little moving and breathing. We'll take a couple more breaths in this pose on this side. Last one. And exhale, we'll start to bring ourselves back up. We'll untangle the legs. And now we'll take our figure four to the other side. So crossing the left ankle over the right knee, whichever variation, down or up. And maybe this side is different than that other side, in which variation you took. Two more breaths here. Last one. And through that exhale, we'll release the bind if you took one. We'll start to take our twist over to the right. So that left sole of the foot touches down to the right side, or adjusting as needed. Supine twist on the right. Last breath here. Ready. We'll slowly come out, untangling the legs, giving those knees a little windshield wiper back and forth to neutralize the spine after those twists. So we have arguably the best pose of class, our Shavasana, which we lay down in and come into a semi-meditative state for a couple of moments, depending on the class, a couple of minutes. And you can either come right into there, or if your body is calling for a couple more poses that you need to complete your practice, there's some other really great closing out poses that you might want to do. One of them can be Happy Baby by lifting the legs into the air, reaching for the inner arches of the feet, and start to rock side by side, just like a newborn baby, giving the sacrum a little massage. Since we do have our props here, you can make use of them by coming into a supportive bridge. So we cannot take a bridge pose in today's class, but our bridge pose would be lifting the hips up. And with our restorative bridge, we would place a block underneath our sacrum. So in my personal practice, I like taking a restorative bridge because it feels good on my back because I have back issues. So if that resonates with you, that might feel good. And again, you definitely don't need a block. If you do this at home, you can make use of what's around you, whether it's a pillow or that paper towel roll that I always mention. And I mention it just because it's soft enough that you can kind of maneuver it in a way to get that shape in the body. So if you're in a yogi's choice pose, we'll take a couple more breaths. If you're already in Shavasana, we'll meet you there momentarily. Two more breaths in your pose. And wherever you are, we'll start to make our way into our Shavasana. If you took our restorative bridge, you can lift the hips up to slide that block away. If you had your legs up in the air, just gently bringing them down, nice and easy. And we'll start to make our way fully on our backs with our limbs extended. I will not take Shavasana, so I'll come right back out. But we'll start to take one last body scan, head to toe, checking in with the body. One last time for tonight in our class. As we start to melt away any facial expressions, coming to complete neutral, maybe bringing a space between your upper and lower jaw, bringing the shoulders away from the ears, unclenching the tummy after all that core work and activation, releasing through the hips, the knees, the ankles, and the toes, coming to complete stillness and softness. Shavasana. If you found yourself drifting away, come back to the present. You can start bringing small movements, sensations to the fingers, and the toes, giving them wiggle, or even reaching up overhead for a big good morning stretch. Personal favorite. And take one last collective breath together, inhaling through the nose and sighing it out. You can close out right here. No need to get up. If you'd like, you can join me in placing your hand, the right hand over your heart, left hand to follow. And I just want to say thank you so much for coming and practicing and being here with me on this Wednesday evening. New friends, familiar friends, people at home, thank you all so much. The light within me honors, shines, respects, and encourages the light within each and every one of you. I bow and say namaste.